Are you ready? It's here, the brand new Shorter Than Short Mike DJ Kelly podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly.
So here we go with another cram-packed audio adventure that's all squeezed and stuffed into what we call the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast. Thank you for joining in the fun. Please do let us know what you think. Contact details a little later. So let's crack the whip. Let's push the start button. Let's get going in 2021 in what the advert describes as, "This is the year of great food." Yep, who said that? It's Deliveroo, offering to deliver KFC, McDonald's, Pizza Express, Wagamama and Greggs. Yep, that's great food for sure. Talking of food, there is a book called Lisa Riley's Honest Diet. Everything you need to know, where Lisa Riley shares her weight loss journey and reveals the secret diet tips that help to lose 12 stone in her book. Lisa Riley's Honesty Diet.
On this week's podcast.
Coming up on this Shorter Than Short podcast, the phonetic alphabet, snow, Queen, Twitter, fake news, RNID, Allegra Stratton, DJ Tiny, and a whole lot more.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Since we were last here, Trump has gone, courtesy of Air Force One, accompanied musically by Village People and YMCA. I see that for the elections in May, they're encouraging us to register for postal voting so as to get around social distancing at the polling station. If you do go to vote at the polling station, you do have to take your own pencil.
This is the Mike Kelly podcast.
Do you know your phonetic alphabet? The one that goes Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and so on? Well, I was thinking, wouldn't it be easier if we used something a little more modern and use musical words? So, ABBA, Beatles, Carpenters, Dexys, Eagles, and so on. I like it when you're doing a search for something on Google and you type in the first word and it brings up what people have been searching for. It always sidetracks me into looking at what people have been searching for. If I type in best, the top result is best films on Netflix. If I type in bargain, the top result is bargain hunt presenters, followed by bargain booze near me.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Some news from Twitter. Rex Chapman. So, this lawyer on a Zoom had to let the judge know he wasn't a cat after accidentally switching to a cat filter. David M. Barnett, a question for readers. Would you want to read a novel set in lockdown, or is it the last thing you'd want to read a novel about? David Hepworth, 40 years on from editing smash hits, I'm keeping track of which of my bands have had jabs. Members of Ultravox, Pet Shop Boys, Altered Images, already done. If you want to send your own stories for the next episode, email, send cuttings or sound clips to, on email, hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk or on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Don't forget to tell us where you are listening, what time you are listening, and what you're doing while you're listening.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Competition time, and guess the song. What song are these lyrics from? But something's bugging me, something ain't right, my best friend told me what you did last night. Again, but something's bugging me, something ain't right, my best friend told me what you did last night. Name the song or the artiste.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
A story in the press about security services MI5 who collaborated to help convict a group of construction workers who'd gone on strike to try and improve their pay and safety measures. The appeal court has heard. Lawyers for 14 trade unionists, including the actor Ricky Tomlinson, told the court that the higher echelons of the state were responsible for helping to get them unfairly convicted for offences arising out of a strike 47 years ago. In a story on CNN, we are all better after a decent night's sleep, and insects are no different. The two new studies have found a commonly used pesticide is disrupting the sleep of bees and flies, with big consequences for these important insects. Talking of strange things, Athens has a covering of snow, and the day before it was 20 degrees. And then there was Storm Darcy. How can so many weather forecasters get it so wrong on a daily basis?
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Nice that the Queen and Bonnie Prince Charlie can set the rules and veto any law changes that might affect their wealth and the value of their property. Talking of the Queen, that reminds me, why do radio stations play more Queen and Oasis now than when they were performing and making hits? On different radio stations, I cannot believe how many times a day I hear their songs. Radio Gaga. That's what it is. And on the radio theme, nice to hear Boom Radio launch at 10 a.m. on Valentine's Day. Some good presenters, but no Martin Kellner as yet. Not sure about the presenter read adverts to advertise their shopping channel. Same on Absolute and their presenters reading adverts for the new Disney service. Does not sound natural, but forced.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly Podcast.
Time for some fake news. Roy Keane says if you've reached the age of 30 and you still don't know how to bleed a radiator, then frankly, you should be ashamed. Harry Styles to present a new Netflix documentary about what might happen if the world ran out of toothpaste. Kylie Minogue says she usually stays clear of politics, but she strongly believes grown-ups who sit on children's play equipment until it breaks should face prosecution rather than be rewarded with £500 from You've Been Framed. They were all from fake Showbiz News account on Twitter.
This is the Shorter Than Short Podcast with Mike Kelly.
You know how it is when you get thinking about something, so my question, can vegans ever be murderers? And on the same theme, in Colombo, you only ever get one murder an episode, and the lieutenant will eventually solve the crime. Yet in Midsummerland, Chief Inspector Barnaby will investigate one death, and there's normally 3 or more in the same episode while he's investigating the first one. Does this mean that Colombo is the better cop, solving the crime before any more happen?
This is the Shorter Than Short Podcast with Mike Kelly.
Today's do-gooders can be found at rnid.org.uk. We are RNID, Royal National Institute for Deaf People. Together, we're here to make life fully inclusive for deaf people and those with hearing loss or tinnitus. In the UK, 1 in 5 adults are deaf or have hearing loss, and 1 in 8 have tinnitus. Despite that, people face the stigma of being treated as stupid, shouted at, or made fun of. There's a frustrating lack of patience, empathy, and understanding. Barriers to work, travel, socialising and communication take a toll on self-esteem and mental well-being and cause self-isolation. Day-to-day life is more difficult and this needs to stop. It's a big challenge, but together we can change things. To find out more about campaigning, becoming a member or donating, go to rnid.org.uk. Quotes and cuts of this show may be used, but remember all material has to be got from somewhere and somebody has to put some effort into getting it to you. So please credit us. That's the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short Podcast. If you're not sure where to find the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short Podcast, just Google it.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly Podcast.
Did you see all the news reports from airports showing people trying to beat the international travellers quarantine, which comes into effect on the 15th of February? Did you feel like me that these are the people who should be in quarantine instead of beating a deadline and possibly bringing back a new strain of the virus? It's hard to believe 21,000 people come into the country every day, even though we're in lockdown.
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
My son did my shopping for me and brought back a loaf of Warburton's bread. I know he does not know that I hate the stuff, as I feel with every mouthful I eat, I'm funding the Conservative Party. Has anyone seen their spokesperson, Allegra Stratton? She started in November, but is still to be seen publicly.
This is the Shorter Than Short Podcast with Mike Kelly.
Anybody notice the Death in Paradise and Heartbeat theme are very similar? And for what it's worth, I think Ben Miller is the best detective on the show. On Twitter, Jackie Oatley, one of those strange things that managers say, we did enough to win the game after they've just not done enough to win the game. Janice Long. I remember my mum and dad taking my brothers and I to the Odeon in London Road, Liverpool. We were all in our Sunday best for the sound of music. It was a cinematic moment, of course. Christopher Plummer went on to do such other great works. Now I find myself singing Edelweiss.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Guess the celebrity, born on the 3rd of March 1968. This person was the keyboard player for the British band Dareem and Dare. He was born in Oldham, and as well as being known for being a musician, he's also known for being a physicist, television presenter and a university teacher. Who is he? Don't forget, pod pickers, if you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us. And if you have any stories for the next episode, email cuttings or sound clips to hello@MIKEDJKELLY.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. If you have time, it would be appreciated if you could give us a review on any feedback sites. And don't forget to let us know what you were doing while you were listening to the show, what time of the day, and where you are listening.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Absolutely hate the new Andrex advert that focuses on people's bottoms, whereby in comparison I do not mind the Anasol advert with pictures of peaches and apples. Even though the subject matter is worse, the advert is more tasteful.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Not sure what's happening in the Kelly household at the moment. I'm sat writing this in the dining room. Sounds very grand, doesn't it? It's just a room connected to the kitchen. But here's the thing, it's getting darker and darker as I write. You will remember from previous shows I replaced all the light bulbs with pricey low energy bulbs that are guaranteed for 3 years, 3 months ago. The 5 light bulb fitting above my head, 3 bulbs have just popped and fizzed and gone out. Not sure how you return postal delivered light bulbs to Paul Russell's. Suppose I'll just buy some more from somewhere else.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Never mind lockdown, what I'd like is a proper weekend. One like they used to be before it was 24/7 365 shopping. A proper weekend where most people had 2 days off, shops were closed and pubs had shorter hours. Not that they can be shorter than they are now. My bank is going through some sort of transformation to change from being the Yorkshire Bank to Virgin Money. Just sent me a text about their working arrangements during the pandemic and said how I can use their stores. It's supposed to be a bloody bank, not a store. Sad news about Captain Tom, but what a fabulous final year he had. Did get the feeling that the media were milking it for all it's worth. And on a similar sad note, from Kate Haldine, I see we've had a letter from Mrs. Trellis of North Wales. It is with sorrow that we announce the death of our client and friend Ian Patterson. We are enormously proud of him and his extraordinary career, most notably as the writer of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
It used to be a big thing in the 60s and 70s in the UK and America. What I'm talking about is payola, where a DJ would get a bung to play and promote a record. Totally illegal and not allowed, but it's still out there and kicking, as I see DJ Tiny at Capital, and before that Radio 1, has been sacked for taking money to play songs.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Now that most TV interviews are done via Zoom type computer calls, I think the more it happens, the more we look at how the call is being done. The background, is it clean and tidy and the correct place for a TV interview to be set? Is the camera lens dirty, and does the person have a clip-on HD camera on the top of the laptop screen? I think you can spot the ones without the HD camera because they'll be using the laptop camera, and due to the screen angles, in many cases we're staring right up their nostrils. Let's talk about adverts, although to be honest, my default position is that all adverts are lies. I like the Listerine donkey advert where the guy and the donkey are showing their teeth. I like the spam advert showing spam being served in posh new ways. Not bad for a cheap wartime food. Still hate the Antendek Santander advert. Just do not get it. Just a point in passing, you don't see much Hessian wallpaper these days. And things we should not be seeing, the top-notch footballer who had an illegal haircut during lockdown and got fined £200. What's that about? He earns thousands of pounds a week. Is he going to be bothered about a £200 fine?
This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
If you want to get in touch with this top-rated, much-listened to podcast, please contact hello@mikedjkelly.co.uk, on Twitter @MikeKellyDisco. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need any help with radio producer or presentation work, please get in touch. You can always get the Mike DJ Kelly podcast by going to iTunes, Spotify or any other major download site, or using a search engine and searching Mike DJ Kelly shorter than short podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly Podcast.
On Twitter, Grandma Williams 80+. In my childhood, the family fight was about who got the cherry in the tin of fruit cocktail or the right to scrape the rice pudding dish. What do today's siblings fight over? Sarah, little things I'm not going to take for granted ever again. The first sip of that Friday after work beer, people watching in coffee shops, going through the menu at one of my favourite restaurants, the excitement when lights go down at the cinema or at a gig. Hannah, you'll see lots of people talking about the 14th of February this year. They're just excited because the date 14/02/21 is a prime number. Richard Horsman, so what if I did use the passenger side heated seat to keep pizza warm driving home? I don't care what you think.
This is the Shorter Than Short Podcast with Mike Kelly.
Okay, it's time to go. Guess the song. What song are these lyrics from? But something's bugging me. Something ain't right. My best friend told me what you did last night. Name the song of the artist. It was Wham! Wake Me Up Before You Go. Guess the celebrity. Born on the 3rd of March 1968. This person was the keyboard player for the British band Dareem and Dare. He was born in Oldham, and as well as being known for being a musician, he's also known for being a physicist, television presenter and university teacher. Who is he? Brian Edward Cox. That's enough for this edition of the crazy Shorter Than Short shabby podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly, thank you for listening. Please take care out there, and remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting Mike DJ Kelly Podcast.
This is the Shorter Than Short Podcast with Mike Kelly.
This is the Mike DJ Kelly Podcast. This is the Mike Kelly Podcast.
Mike Kelly.